Imagine a company that captured the world's imagination without ever having a real, sustainable product. A company built entirely around an idea so seductive that investors poured in almost $2,000 billion, and consumers lined up to join a movement that promised something that felt too good to be true. You know where this is going. This is the story of MoviePass, the brand that didn't sell a product. It sold an irresistible idea: unlimited movies for a tiny monthly fee. It's a tale of hype, psychology, branding genius, and a fundamental business model that, underneath all the goodwill, was simply unworkable. Today, we're going deep on how this concept became a cultural sensation, why investors chased it to the tune of billions, how the model unraveled spectacularly, and what it teaches us about the difference between selling an idea and selling a product. So lean in, because this is one of the most fascinating stories of the last decade in business. What they promised. In 2017, MoviePass wasn't a household name. By 2018, it was everywhere, trending on social media, dominating tech headlines, featured in business panels, the subject of analysts, debates, and memes alike. Why? Because the company offered something that sounded like a free lunch in a world of rising prices. See as many theatrical movies as you want every single month for a flat fee of around $9.95. Think about that. At the time, an average movie ticket in the US was about $10.12. MoviePass was saying, for less than the price of one ticket, you could watch everything all month long. No strings, no limits, no catch. At least that's how it was marketed. To the public, this was more than a subscription, it was a movement. MoviePass was tapping into something bigger than transactions. It was selling FOMO, fear of missing out, belonging, movies as identity, rebellion, beating the system, liberation, freedom to watch what you want. It wasn't just about films, it was a promise of limitless entertainment, and that promise was powerful. How MoviePass became a cultural phenomenon. Let's be clear, the idea worked. In 2018, MoviePass exploded. Millions of users signed up, and not just bargain hunters. People who rarely went to the cinema before suddenly became weekly moviegoers. Social media lit up with posts like, "I saw 10 movies this month and it only cost me $9.95. MoviePass changed my life. I'm addicted to movies now." The brand cultivated a genuine community vibe. You didn't just subscribe, you joined something. Investors took notice. Why? Because unlike most subscription services that rely on steady usage patterns, MoviePass was driving record engagement and new consumer behavior. For the first time in years, lines were forming at theaters again, and upstarts in tech had a brand that could influence physical world behavior. To venture capitalists, that meant potential network effects and massive scaling power. So they invested heavily. In total, MoviePass raised nearly $2 billion in funding from prominent investors and venture capital firms who believed the company would redefine movie-going and, perhaps, even disrupt Hollywood. But here's the key thing. Investors weren't just buying a product. They were buying a future, an idea, a narrative. They weren't just funding tickets. They were funding the promise of entertainment liberation. What they sold could not be sustained. Let's pause for a moment and examine what MoviePass actually sold. It sold a subscription model, the same structural idea behind Netflix, Spotify, Apple Music, gym memberships, and more. But here's the difference. Those businesses connect customers to content they host or license. MoviePass connects customers to someone else's product, movie tickets. And movie tickets are not owned by MoviePass. In fact, MoviePass had to pay full price for every ticket the subscriber used, meaning if you watched 2 movies in a month, MoviePass paid the theater for 2 tickets. If you watched 10 movies in a month, MoviePass paid the theater for 10 tickets. You see where this is going. At $9.95 per month, MoviePass would spend more on tickets than it collected in subscription revenue from day one. That's not a loss leader. That's a loss spiral. But MoviePass still marketed it as a sustainable revolution. They believed, or convinced the world, that this was a classic freemium to premium growth play. Get millions of users hooked, upsell them to premium offerings, monetize data, partner with studios, theaters, create ancillary revenue streams. Basically sell the idea first, worry about making money later, and investors ate it up. Then reality set in. And it hit hard. MoviePass's core problem was not that people didn't like the service. People loved it. That was the business model's downfall. Subscribers started watching movies every week, sometimes multiple times per week, because it was a steal. But that behavior meant MoviePass was losing money on every single active user. To cover these losses, the company tried a series of fixes. 1. Raising prices. They bumped subscription costs, but that undermined the original promise of cheap, unlimited access. 2. Limiting films at times. MoviePass blocked popular blockbusters, the exact movies people signed up to see, to reduce costs. 3. Introducing premium tiers. They tried adding higher price plans with perks, but that didn't generate enough revenue to offset massive losses. 4. Selling data. MoviePass claimed it would monetize user viewing habits, but the revenue there was nowhere near what the model needed. Instead of stabilizing, the service started shrinking. Customers who signed up for one reason, unlimited movies at a low price, now felt betrayed, restricted, or nickel and dimed. The communities and goodwill that once fueled its popularity began turning into frustration. The very thing that made the brand beloved, unlimited access, disappeared. Why MoviePass failed the core lessons. This isn't a story about a bad idea. This is a story about a brilliant idea with a bankrupt business model. Let's break down exactly what went wrong and what this tells us about consumer psychology, startups, and the difference between vision and viability. 1. They sold an experience, not a viable product. MoviePass offered a fantasy. Watch as many movies as you want for a tiny fee. That promise was powerful, but it was not viable as structured. If the experience costs more than the revenue you receive, it's not a business, it's a charity. And no investor, no matter how optimistic, wants to fund a charity forever. 2. They ignored core economics. In subscription businesses, the math matters. Netflix pays for its own content and spreads cost across millions of users. MoviePass had no control over the cost of the product it delivered. The product, movie tickets, are fixed costs borne by the theaters. Every time a subscriber used the service, MoviePass gave away money. That's not disruption, that's desperation. 3. They relied on hype, not fundamentals. MoviePass grew because it tapped into emotion. Humans love stories about the underdog reinventing the norm. But emotions don't pay bills. Hype can attract customers and capital, but if the underlying model bleeds cash every month, the hype eventually runs out. MoviePass discovered that the hard way. What happened to MoviePass? By 2019, the cracks were showing publicly. Subscribers began noticing frequent blackout restrictions, higher prices, confusing terms, erratic service changes, poor communication. The brand started losing trust, and trust is everything, especially for services that rely on long-term commitment. By 2020, MoviePass was bankrupt. Millions of users had signed up, paid in advance, and felt let down. Investors had lost almost all of their capital, and the idea, the powerful dream of unlimited movies, evaporated. But here's the twist: even though the company failed, it left a mark. For a brief time, people actually went back to theaters in larger numbers. Movie theaters experimented with dynamic pricing. Competitors and partners paid attention. Traditional businesses saw the value in subscription experiments. In other words, the idea influenced the industry even if the company didn't survive. But here's the key point: influence without revenue is not sustainability. MoviePass's big insight was that consumers loved unlimited access, but their mistake was trying to deliver that access below cost. Brands that learned from MoviePass the right way. While MoviePass failed, others learned. 1. AMC's A-List. AMC Theaters, the largest theater chain in the US, launched its own subscription program, AMC A-List, but structured it differently. Higher monthly fees, tiered plans, limited number of films per month, flexibility without unlimited free tickets. This way, they controlled costs and made sure the model worked economically. 2. Cineworld's Unlimited Pass. Cineworld's program succeeded because it balanced subscription fees with expected average use, not betting on everyone watching every day. 3. Other industries copied the concept responsibly. Gyms, digital content platforms, and even kids' activity clubs began experimenting with membership models that offered value without undercutting revenue. They didn't overpromise unlimited access for too little money. They learned from MoviePass. So what happens next? Why does this story still matters in 2026? Even though MoviePass is gone, the lessons are richer than ever. Today's startups often chase network effects, subscriber counts, and viral growth, all of which are great if you have the economics to support them. But just because customers love a service doesn't mean that service makes money. Too many companies today fall into the same trap MoviePass did: sell vision before revenue, overpromise and underdeliver, rely on funding to paper over losses, assume scale solves economics. The truth is, great businesses start with a product people will pay for. Sustainably, the world doesn't reward ideas, it rewards profitable solutions. Now I want to hear from you. What's your take on MoviePass? Was it a genius idea gone wrong, or inevitable doom from day one? Could a company pull off something like this successfully with the right tweaks? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's unpack this together. And if you want more stories like this, real business breakdowns that go beyond headlines and into what actually matters, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives. Because the difference between a great idea and a great business is a lesson every entrepreneur needs to learn.